The United States was founded upon ideals of liberty, justice, and democracy. For centuries, these principles have been upheld as they've spread across North America and beyond. But what if those same values had threatened other world powers? What would happen if this American model of government had caused unrest amongst countries who held different beliefs? Imagine a world where tensions between global superpowers reach a boiling point. A deadly conflict ignites, engulfing the United States, NATO members, Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea in a massive war. This all-out battle would undoubtedly have a profound impact on the international community and, quite possibly, lead to an apocalyptic outcome. To understand the seeds of this conflict, we must first look at the history between the United States and the Soviet Union. The Cold War, which lasted from 1947 to 1991, was marked by a prolonged period of geopolitical tension between the two superpowers. Though they never directly engaged in military combat, both sides were locked in an arms race, constantly building up their nuclear arsenals. Intrigued yet? Let's understand which historic events took place to get us here. December 30th, 1922. Formation of the Soviet Union. (1924) The rise of Joseph Stalin. (1936 through 1938) The Great Purge. June 22, 1941. Adolf Hitler and the Soviet Union invasion. September 2nd, 1945. World War II ends. April 15th, 1945. The Soviet Union invades neighboring European country in the city of Berlin, Germany. November 9th, 1989. The walls of Berlin, Germany falls. December 26th, 1991. The collapse of the Soviet Union. May 7th, year 2000. The rise of Vladimir Putin. August 8th, 2008. Russia invades neighboring country Georgia. March 2014. Russia seizes southern peninsula from neighboring country Ukraine. Lastly, the event that very well may have started it all. February 24th, 2022. Russia further invades neighboring yet sovereign country, Ukraine. Want to see more? You can now binge watch all episodes of our series on our website. Get started today and explore the potential of the next world war. Russia, with its moderately thriving economy and population of 143.4 million citizens, prides itself on its roots and history of the Soviet Union. Most geopolitical Ivy League scholastic experts would argue Russia has never fully integrated into the New World Order of democracy-like governments. Despite the fall of the Soviet Union in 1991, Russia's disdain for the US and Western culture at large has been brewing for decades. February 24th, 2022. Russia launches a full-scale military invasion on Ukraine, Russia's neighboring country. It's assumed this bold move would undoubtedly provoke a swift response from NATO and its allies, who are committed to preserving Ukraine's independence. Strategically, Russian military forces seize an additional 3 critical regions along Ukraine's southwest and far eastern borders. On top of the Crimea Peninsula, Ukraine's southern landmass transcends beyond military advantages. The Crimean Peninsula is also economically important because of its favorable location in the Black Sea, as well as its proximity to nearby countries such as Turkey and Romania. Geographically, Ukraine is strategically located between Russia and NATO member countries, making it a crucial buffer zone. Russia's annexation of Crimea in 2014 and its continued support of separatist movements in eastern Ukraine have significantly heightened tensions in the region. The Russian armed forces maintain the world's largest stockpile of nuclear weapons and possess the world's second-largest fleet of ballistic missile submarines. They are also one of only 3 national militaries, alongside those of the United States and China, that operate strategic bombers. Brace yourself. We'll examine the military capabilities of each side in this high-stakes conflict. We'll also explore the strategies, tactics, and weaponry that could be deployed in an all-out war involving the United States, NATO, and Russia. The US and NATO are faced with a delicate balancing act. On one hand, they must uphold their commitment to Ukraine's sovereignty and deter further Russian aggression. On the other, they must avoid actions that could escalate the situation into a worldwide war. Military strategists would likely consider a range of options, from diplomatic efforts and economic sanctions to a show of force and limited military intervention. Let's explore some of these options in more detail. Diplomacy would be the first line of defense. Intense negotiations between the US, NATO, and Russia could aim to establish a ceasefire, withdraw Russian forces from Ukraine, and create a framework for a long-term peaceful resolution. Economic sanctions could be another non-military tool at NATO's disposal. By imposing harsh sanctions on Russia and its allies, NATO could attempt to pressure the Russian government into withdrawing its troops from Ukraine. However, the effectiveness of sanctions can be difficult to predict and might not yield immediate results. A show of force, such as deploying additional troops and military assets to NATO's eastern flank, could send a strong message to Russia. This option would demonstrate NATO's commitment to defending its member countries and deterring further Russian aggression without directly engaging in combat. Limited military intervention might involve providing logistical support, intelligence, and military equipment to Ukraine. This option would bolster Ukraine's ability to defend itself, but it could also risk provoking Russia and escalating the conflict. Each of these options comes with its own set of risks and benefits. While the US and NATO would strive to avoid igniting a global conflict, the stakes are high, and even a small miscalculation could set off a chain reaction leading to war. As tensions escalate, Russia increases its military presence in the region, conducting massive military exercises close to the Ukrainian border. These provocative actions stir up fear and anxiety among NATO members and the global community. Diplomatic efforts are ramped up in an attempt to de-escalate the situation. High-level negotiations between the US, NATO, Russia, and Ukraine take place, trying to find a peaceful solution and to ensure the territorial integrity of Ukraine. The Pentagon in Washington, D.C. closely monitors the escalating situation between NATO and Russia regarding the Ukrainian conflict. Senior military officials and advisors hold a series of emergency meetings to assess the risks and explore possible strategies to contain the crisis. Recognizing the potential consequences of a direct military confrontation with Russia, they urge the administration to focus on providing indirect support to Ukraine while keeping diplomatic channels open to avoid further escalation. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay informed about the latest World War III worst-case scenario episodes. Thank you for watching. To stay up to date with our latest releases, all you've got to do is follow us across our various social media platforms. We're talking Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, you name it, we're there. Thank you for watching our channel. There's a whole lot more where that came from. Interested in binge-watching all episodes today? Head over to our website to access our entire media library using the URL link in the description. Ready to test your World War II knowledge? What two countries were already involved in a military conflict before the beginning of World War II? Provide your answer or response in the YouTube comment box below. Stay tuned for the right answer. Japan and China were already involved in a military conflict before the beginning of World War II. Faced with the prospect of a full-scale global conflict, the US and NATO decide to walk a fine line between supporting Ukraine and avoiding direct military confrontation with Russia. They choose to provide military equipment, intelligence, and logistical support to the Ukrainian armed forces, while refraining from sending troops to join the fight. As shipments of advanced weaponry, ammunition, and other supplies begin to pour into Ukraine, the country's military capabilities are significantly bolstered. Ukrainian forces are now better equipped to resist the Russian invasion and protect their sovereignty. However, the decision not to deploy NATO troops to Ukraine leaves the nation's armed forces stretched thin. The lack of experienced military personnel on the ground creates challenges in coordinating and executing complex operations against a formidable adversary like Russia. Meanwhile, stock markets around the world are crashing as investors grow increasingly concerned about the escalating conflict. Politicians hold press conferences to address their constituents' concerns across the country. As the situation worsens, Russia faces a surge in economic issues and homelessness, with businesses going bankrupt and closing across the country. The dire economic consequences of the conflict are felt not only in Russia, but also globally, as markets continue to react negatively to the ongoing uncertainty and the potential for further escalation. International conglomerates begin laying off employees based in Russia, the first step of their process of severing ties with the Eastern European economy and abandoning and uprooting their plans for commercial growth. As chaos and economic turmoil escalate, Ukrainians rush to leave the country. Ukraine's international airport sees a massive exodus, while once bustling shopping districts stand eerily empty. The world watches in shock, hoping for a peaceful resolution to the crisis and stability for the region. As the conflict in Ukraine continues to intensify, the Ukrainian government and its citizens find themselves in an increasingly dire situation. Despite the military assistance provided by the US and NATO, Ukraine's armed forces struggle to repel the Russian invasion without the presence of NATO troops on the ground. As the situation deteriorates, Borispil International Airport becomes a symbol of hope for those seeking refuge from the chaos. However, with so many people trying to leave at once, the airport faces logistical challenges, causing delays and frustration. Desperate to escape the mounting crisis, Ukrainian nationals anxiously wait for their flights, praying they can depart before panic overtakes the nation. Desperate for more support, Ukrainian officials and citizens passionately plead with the US and NATO to provide additional resources and personnel to help them defend their nation. They implore the international community to recognize the gravity of the situation and the potential for the conflict to escalate into a larger war. The intensity of the conflict escalates as tanks fire artillery, urban city buildings are hit by military projectiles, and entire downtown city blocks become engulfed in smoke from missile strikes. Devastating explosions resonate through the region, underscoring the severity of the situation. As the violence spirals out of control, it becomes increasingly clear that the world is on the brink of an unimaginable catastrophe, and urgent action is needed to prevent further escalation and devastation. As the conflict between Russia and Ukraine intensifies, the US and NATO find themselves in an increasingly precarious position. They face mounting pressure to provide more direct assistance to Ukraine, while also seeking to avoid provoking Russia and its allies into a larger confrontation. The stakes are higher than ever, as the fate of not only Ukraine but the entire world hangs in the balance. Time is running out, and the decisions made by these world powers in the coming days and weeks will shape the course of history. In the next episode, we'll dive deeper into the unfolding crisis. How will the US and NATO navigate this treacherous situation? Will diplomacy prevail, or will the world be plunged into a devastating global conflict? Don't miss the continuation of this gripping series. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay informed about the latest episodes. Want to see more? You can now binge watch all episodes of our series on our website. Get started today and explore the potential of the next world war. Arm yourself with the power of advanced AI for video creation, high-quality copy generation, a diverse range of freelance services, top-notch hosting options, and the ultimate online privacy protection. Don't miss out on exclusive discounts and promotions. Sign up today by clicking on the links in the description. Your journey towards creating compelling content starts now.